welcome to a very special episode of Planetos Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the fans of George R. R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire and HBO's A Game of Thrones. Spoiler warning, the show will cover all material, including the main series, Dunk and Egg, the novellas, Fire and Blood, The World of Ice and Fire, quotes and interviews by George, and episodes of the show and its commentaries and bonus material. I'm one of your hosts, Brett. You can find me on Twitter at HomelyPillow.
And I'm your other host, Travis. You can find me at Sir_Travis on Twitter. You can follow our podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Planetos Podcast. And you can listen to our program on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Podbean, SoundCloud, Google Play, and other platforms. We hope you enjoy today's show. All right, guys. So tonight we're coming to you just a few minutes after the season premiere. We still have no idea what the title of this episode is called, although apparently EW is reporting that its title is Winterfell. So I was kind of hoping for Winter is Here or something like that.
I thought it was.
Parallel Winter is Coming. Yeah, I saw that yesterday on Twitter. I think that maybe someone made that up and was kind of passing it off. Yeah. So, but here we are. We're discussing Season 8, Episode 1, and this is really our first foray into covering the show live as it airs, because we've only been around 8 or 9 months, but we hope that you all enjoy our coverage here and stick with us. A lot of great podcasts out there, a lot of great podcasters, wealth of information, wealth of podcast covering the show, but we're glad to be doing it and hope you stick with us through this season. So we got a special guest with us. We're going to introduce him here in just a minute, but I just want to preface something. We're not going to talk about potential leaks here. Apparently the show kind of dropped a little early today. That might happen in the future. Some people say that, there are leaks on Reddit and stuff. We don't want to focus that way. We're going to talk about what we really think is going to happen here, what we think is going to happen with the characters, with the plot, with the battle to come, and with the ending. And we really couldn't have anyone better, I think, than helping us out here than Anthony Pelliccio. Anthony is a friend on Twitter of Brett and I. He's a friend of the podcast. So, Anthony, welcome to Planetos. Please tell the fans where they can find you on social media and in the fandom.
Guys, first, thanks very much for having me on. You can get me on Twitter and Reddit at @A_Pelliccio. That's common spelling on Pelliccio, Pelliccio.
All right. So we're going to just jump right into it. We have some questions at the end, Anthony, because as when we invited you onto the podcast, we told you that, what we try to do is we have fans on, we kind of capture their story. We're going to ask those questions at the end, if that's okay with you. So I just want to jump right into the podcast, and I want to talk about initial reaction. Just one word, one sentence, whatever. Let's talk about what are your feelings about this episode, and then we'll get to some of the nitty-gritty of what happens. Anthony, you're our guest. Go first.
I think it's easily summed up on my end from exceeded expectations.
Okay.
I think just briefly, the show has done a very good job the last 2 seasons on doing an excellent premiere. Season 5, I thought, fell a little short a couple years ago, but I think the last 2 years have been excellent premieres and set the tone for the year, and I think they've hit that mark and exceeded it here tonight.
All right, Brett.
I like nothing happened that I expected to in the first episode. Like, they just wrapped up. I mean, like the Arya and Jon hug, the Jon reveal. It happened in a way that we're going to get into, but it's just I don't know, like, they're not wasting time with this episode. And I really appreciate it. There was no awkward moments for there were funny moments, but it wasn't like that awkward silence you got in the last season where everyone's in a room together. Like, it felt like a first season episode. That's like, it was like, that's my vibes, like straight off the bat. Like, I don't know. So I'm pretty excited about it. So, what about you?
Yeah, so I'll be a little bit of a Debbie Downer here, and I'll say that I thought there were some moments that were really anticlimactic that I felt were gonna maybe be threads that would occur over a couple episodes or happen in different episodes. I'm not disappointed with how the episode sets up the season, because I think when we look back on this, this is a short season, 6 episodes. That's it. So they really had to get the ball rolling here. And so I think from that standpoint, absolutely, it's like you all said, it sets the stage and it sets the tone. There were just a couple moments that I thought, man, they could have used just a little more time to kind of build those up. And we'll get to those here in a minute when we talk about some of the questions we're going to cover. But let's just kind of step back for a minute. Let's talk about what we saw in this episode, and then we'll kind of get into it. First of all, a brand new opening credit sequence. I thought that was amazing.
Yes.
Like
that was really cool.
The credit sequence has always been good, but it's like they dropped $100 million just on this.
Yeah, I mean, talk about something like unexpected. Like, it was very unexpected. And I was watching it, I was like, this looks different. And then I see the Crypts of Winterfell. When I really started paying attention, I was like, what? Like, that's when I like really keyed into the new thing, and then I got to see, like everything else after that. It was really cool though. Like, did not expect it.
We got the hole in the wall where Eastwatch should have been. We got the winter landscape across the continent, and like you said, we got the guts of the castles. Right, we had Winterfell and the Crypts. It appears we got the throne room at the Red Keep and King's Landing, and I almost missed it because I berate my wife to skip through it every episode. I'm on HBO Go, right? I'm not watching it. Well, it's live, but it's not. I'm like, let me just fast forward and get right to the meat and potatoes of the episode. She's like, no, we have to watch, and I'm happy I caught it, and I let her win.
That's the same way, but with my wife, she, of course, it's opposite in my house. My wife usually wants to just skip through that, and I said, well, I heard it's going to be different, so let's at least just watch this first one. But I thought it was really great. I mean, I love the what looked like the ice steps of the Army of the Dead, marching down from the wall to Last Hearth.
I didn't even catch that.
Oh,
I didn't even pay attention. That close.
It was pretty amazing. So, like, it's white snow, but then it was like blue ice. So it kind of flipped over almost like dominoes to show and I thought that was just a great detail. But I absolutely love going into Winterfell, going into King's Landing and the Red Keep. And, we've got only 2 or 3 locations. I think, we can talk about this when we get into some of our questions here. But we're really going to be focused on Winterfell and King's Landing. I mean, this is the end game. There might be some other areas that pop up future episodes, but they're going to be able to spend a lot of time in those 2 locations. And they've always spent a lot of time there, but we've always had other areas to cover as well. So let's jump into what happens. And again, we really only have 2 locations. So I'm just going to run through this, and then we can talk about some of these. So first of all, the North. There's a lot that happens in the North. First of all, Jon and Dany and their army arrive. Sansa meets Dany. Jon reunites with Bran and Arya and Sam. Arya reunites with the Hound and Gendry and Jon. Sam tells Jon about his parent. And then finally we end with Jaime making it to Winterfell. Now, the first thing I want to say about the North is, will someone fucking take Bran Stark inside? Was he just like left out there the entire episode? Like every moment someone turned around and were like, what the fuck?
He parked for 48 hours. He might be looking for a ticket and a tow at this point. Someone's going to say the vehicle's abandoned.
Yes. He's got the boot on his...
there's a boot.
He can't
Homer
go
Simpson versus the city of New York. Bran is running through.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah, I thought it was a little strange, but I thought it worked well in most of the scenes, especially the one with Jamie. I thought that was really good.
The hug that John gave him was like, it was so sweet, and then like it was just ruined. He's like, I don't have time for all this.
Yeah, yeah. He's Bran is emblematic of this episode. Like, we got to get to the point here.
Yeah.
We got to get.
He really is. I mean, like, he really is like the audience. Like, we got to get
right.
Like the smaller geographic locations covered this season or this episode might aid the condensed nature, right, of the season.
Yes,
so, like,
I think it really is.
It feels like we're squeezing it a lot, and when you spread it over 5 or 6 locations, when you're in Essos or the Iron Islands or in Dorne, God forbid, and then you have this 6-episode season, which almost feels like HBO's like second half of this Sopranos finale, right? Where this like season 7 and 8 might have just been part 1, part 2 of the closing act.
Yeah,
it may not feel as rushed. I still think they're trying to accomplish too much. 10 pounds of excrement in an 8-pound bag, and not the excrement to mean like the quality.
Right.
There's entirely too much to squeeze in. If we just focus on those 2 locations, this might feel. I'm a little more optimistic than I was going into the season. I said, "There's no way we can do this in 6." The episode came in at under an hour.
I'm right there with you. Like they crammed way more into an episode than I ever expected them to, but it worked because it was, or for me, and I think you at least.
Yeah, I was satisfied.
Yeah, just because it was so contained in one like event, pretty much.
Yeah, and I think you make a good point, and I think that makes me kind of reevaluate. I think I still hold to. There's a few anticlimactic moments, but I do think that the condensed locations will help with character development and really focusing in on this episode's almost kind of like a checklist. Okay, we got to have these people unite, and I'm not saying that they just kind of said, all right, well, let's just make them have a reunion and then move on. I think there were some really good moments here, and we're going to get to those here in just a moment. But I do think that now that this is out of the way, they can really build the next episode on what's vital to the last 3 or 4 episodes, of getting these characters and getting this plot moving forward. So I do like what you said, Anthony. I think that's a really good take on it. This was a scene I really liked, and that is the discussion between Tyrion, Varys, and Davos. I thought that it was a very short scene, but I really like. I'm going to call them the triumvirate. They would be an amazing council of advisors to anyone. But I really liked them walking around and talking. Davos giving, here's what it's like to deal with Northerners. Tyrion and Varys obviously understanding not only what they're up against with Cersei, but also what they have to overcome with Daenerys in order to make all of this kind of flow well.
I like the three counselors, almost like the 3 wise men, like you said, the triumvirate, the magi, and they almost have like a Venn diagram, right, where 2 out of the 3 are commoners, right? So Davos was raised to a lord from Commoner. Varys is obviously this, this was abducted and used in a religious ceremony and became kind of, I guess, like a pseudo slave to this thing before he was able to break out and go into his acting troupe with Illyrio. And then they all have some sort of physical disability or an issue where Davos' finger's missing. Again, that Varys is a eunuch. Tyrion, his height, is a handicap in the eyes of the society he lives in. But they kind of complement each other and they overlap in several respects, I think.
Like you said, Tyrion, even though he's a Lannister and he is a highborn, he's still an outcast as a dwarf. And so all 3 of them really have used their intelligence and their skills to raise themselves up. Let's talk about the Sam and Jorah and Danny conversation. I gotta be honest. I was very surprised by. I guess I shouldn't be surprised by Sam's reaction. I mean, especially with his brother dying.
Mm-hmm. So this scene actually really caught me off guard because it starts off like a season 6, 7 Sam, like typical scene where he's awkward. He's like, oh, it's really funny. And then it goes really freaking dark. And that really caught me off guard. Like, and I really appreciated that. Like, they are thrown out. Like, they're throwing out the stops on this one. Like, I would have never expected that. Like, it just, and then like it did hurt him that his dad was dead. And it sucks because Randall Tarley's a piece of crap. But it's just kind of like, it's still.
It's certainly complicated, right? I mean, yeah. Randall Tarley, father of the year in Westeros, 25, 30 years running now.
Yeah. But did he ask about his brother? And
yeah, and you're right.
I burned him alive.
Sam season 5 at the books in Castle Black with Stannis coming in. You almost wanted to hear her say, keep reading Samuel Tarley. Yeah. And it was nice to have Dany, who was challenged as to the consequences of her actions last season, by someone who's emotionally attached. So Tyrion reminded her that this is what your father would do and that this has consequences. But, she wasn't really ever confronted with, the complicated nature of, right, it's my father. It's an actual human being, not just a lord who owes you leal service. And again, Sam's relationship is complicated with his father. And I still think there's some regret there, but it's really brought home with the reveal that Dickon was a victim here. And even though chronologically, I think in the episode, you can remind me that Sam had already discussed with Bran about revealing Jon's parentage to him.
Yeah, and then that's kind of soured and poisoned.
Is there any added onus on him to then tell Jon this, right? Does he have any ill will towards Dany leaving this conversation? Like, I would like to complicate things further for you on the eve of essentially, the apocalypse, the battle for the dawn. I don't know if Sam's there. I don't know if the show's going that way. I have no behind the scenes knowledge of that, but I don't know if he leaves that the conversation with Dany satisfied with, her answer to him.
It's kind of weird because like the show skips from him running out and whatever, and then talking to Bran. Then he goes into the crypts, and then he's kind of like hiding, and then they try to do another funny moment. That's one thing that kind of took me out of it. Like he was just, so that was one. I think maybe they didn't really plan that out to be that way. They just were like, that was an editor choice.
Okay.
But like, yeah, like were you just hiding out there, and then it gets really serious again because I think, the first time was funny, then it goes dark, then it needs to be serious. But I mean, that's just a small little thing. But
I really do like the reveal to Jon. I thought that was very strong. I thought Kit really, he played it very well. You could tell he was conflicted with what was being told. He was, surprised. That's an adjective. That's probably not the strongest adjective I could use to describe it. But I don't necessarily like the fact that Sam, and again, he's upset that his brother died, not necessarily that his father died. He's upset, and he prefaced the reveal of Jon's parentage with the fact that Daenerys killed his father and brother. Then he drops this. So, and the conversation doesn't even go as far as, it obviously could be happening in Jon's head, but we haven't even got to the conversation or the realization that Daenerys is his aunt. It's just, it's so much on him right now, and I'm sure he's thinking that. But I'm not sure, and obviously the show can work it out differently in the next few episodes, but that just seems a little uncharacteristic of Samuel Tarley. that he would present information like that, especially something as pivotal to Jon as, oh, hey, Dany burned my father and brother, and by the way, you're the rightful king because, here's the information.
He's asking, right, would you have done it this way? Is he testing Jon? Like, Jon, I'd like to tell you this information that you should be the king.
Yeah.
Before I do so, is this your reaction, or is this how you would do it? But this is the Sam who was very much involved in Jon's election, and I don't think that's true. Don't played it this way. I can't really recall season 4, but certainly in the books, Sam was the kingmaker, right? He went around to Cotter Pike and Mallister and played them off one another so as to orchestrate Jon's election. So Sam can politic a bit. I don't know if the show's going here. Again, I don't know if there's enough time to do this, or I'm just reading into this, but
you're right.
Throw a wrench in the succession here, and is he orchestrating the Night's Watch Lord Commander election here by testing Jon? Before I give you this, what would you have done in Dany's shoes? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I mean, he does in, I think it's season 5. He does give a speech or something that kind of takes into that element of kingmaker. And Sam's very loyal to Jon. I mean, we know that. Jon is the one who stood up to protect him, who befriended him, who saw Sam's value. That's very important. And Sam is very hurt. I mean, again, even though his father was such an asshole to him, knowing that he's dead and then knowing that his brother died as well, that's hurtful. And so, you think of it as a human, you'd probably rush and Anthony, this is we know each other on Twitter, but this is, the first time we've really seen each other face to face. I might rush to someone and say, you know what happened? Here's what happened. This is terrible. Oh, by the way, you're the king. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a very human reaction.
Jon the friend as opposed to Jon, right? Lord, right? And what Jon my barracks mate at Castle Black? Jon my battle buddy north of the Wall ranging.
And what really sold that scene to me is like he was upset that his father was dead, but he was willing to accept it. And then he says something about his brother. Because he never had any ill will about his brother, and that really
was at least I'll get to go home now that Rickon is in charge.
Yeah, that was a gut punch right there. Like, I think I texted Travis about that, but yeah, that was a gut punch. And then so I could see him being upset in that moment, and then he runs outside to try to grieve, and then Bran's like, "You have to do it now. I'm a robot. You have to do it." And then so. But and then when he goes into the thing, like he's not hiding, so that kind of took that one out. Like he would just storm in there, But that's why I think that something was improvised there, maybe, and then they just forgot about it, maybe. Not a big issue, but I want to jump back to the very beginning. I did appreciate. Excuse me. Sansa, okay, so you have Arya, like, in the crowd, watching people come, and then you get the little Bran parallel, the little boy.
Climbing the tree, right, exactly.
Yeah. But then you get, Jon's asking Sansa where Arya is, and she's, like, lurking somewhere. I just thought that was funny.
Yeah.
I just one quick thing about Sam and Jon. For the last, I guess, season or 2, I was wondering why Jon didn't make the marriage, or a union of the 2 crowns kind of a condition for bending the knee. And I wasn't sure what the terms of the arrangement between Yara when she and Theon arrived in Meereen, because in this episode, Theon again calls her queen.
Yeah.
But then it was made sense or made clear how, for last 3 or 4 episodes, we get Jon humbling himself and abdicating and bending the knee, only now to have Sam like hoist him up again, right? So you're humble, you want to put the crown down for the good of the North. Well, let me throw some baggage on you, where you're going to have to step back into this role because you can't deny, your parentage now, and your duty now to the realm is made clear by the fact of the reveal here. And I'm happy actually that the reveal happened so early in the season, because I felt like the pacing was deliberately put off in the last 2 seasons. So in season 5, we had the reveal of Jon. Let's see, I'm trying to think back. Bran was spying in on the cave
This is season 6?
Blood Rain. Was it season 6 where we get the Tower of Joy very early, but we don't get the actual reveal of the baby until the end?
Right.
And then same thing with season 7, rather, where we get the reveal of Jon, I guess, and the annulment, and then it's all pieced together at the end of the season. So I thought to myself, the way they've set this up previously, we're not going to get the big reveal of Jon much later. And I'm happy it was done now, because it seems like too big a secret to keep in person. And it was like that in season 6 too, with Davos, I felt, and Shireen, that this was deliberately kept off screen for far too long. I think it, as powerful as it was acted out at the end of season 6, that Davos not inquiring as to the fate of his king and a family he served, since the rebellion. When confronted with Mel and Castle Black, I felt it detracted from the scene. So this was good. I felt that it was revealed early, that the characters have time to digest and address this, and there might be a good arc over the remaining episodes we have.
I completely agree. I don't know. I just love the pacing. Just, it doesn't bother me this season. Not this season. This episode, just none of it bothered me, because it's all in one location. It's very much a first season type of pacing where everything's contained.
Let's wrap up the North. So let's jump back. We kind of did this out of order. Yeah. So let's talk about the arrival. I thought the arrival was really good. Got to give a shout out to B-Fish. He, forever he wanted someone to re-edit Stannis's arrival at the Wall to the King's arrival, and they give it to Jon and Danny. And when I was watching it, I was like, oh, I bet Jeff is so fucking pissed.
Jon's been taking his plot for a couple seasons now with the Battle of Battle of Ice now, and
let's give him the King's arrival. Sure, all right. But no, I thought it was really good. I loved the opening. I loved that boy, running through the woods, running through the snow, kind of jumping up and down, kind of resembling. He resembled both Arya and Bran. Arya, someone helps her up into a wagon, and so she can see the procession of King Robert. I thought that was a great callback. I thought it looked really good. I loved the Northerners, giving Danny the cold eye, and then the dragons just
scaring the shit out of everybody.
Scared the shit out of them, where they're like, oh shit. So I thought that was good. Let's talk just a little bit about the arrival. What you all thought about that?
I freaking loved it. I loved Arya in the crowd. Loved that. I did not expect to see her. And then she's there. It was weird. The coldness she gave the Hound. I just thought, it'd be a little warmer than that. But whatever. I did like when, she sees him later, and she does give a little bit of a smile, but the Hound doesn't like to show his feelings. So he's back to the old Hound, like we talked about on Night's Cast, but back to the old Hound, which is fine, because that's he doesn't have the book arc. So, but I liked how they set the conflict up too, straight off the bat. There's a conflict. Look, the Northerners are looking at Danny. So yet again, Sansa, everyone being mean to Sansa is not actually a thing now, because the whole North, Sansa is a Northerner. So I kind of like how they're everybody like if there's going to be a conflict, it can't. I'm just tired of it being Sansa's fault. So
right.
Spread the blame, but no, I Travis hit all the points I wanted to. Where we had the composite Bran and Arya seeing the procession. I don't know if it was the same. I want to watch season 1, episode 1 again. The creek area, the bed of the creek, is that where they pulled the direwolves from? In season 1, I mean, at least the book has.
It looked familiar. It did look familiar.
Where Ned did the execution was further away from Winterfell than I thought that, but I don't know if the show had the same geography. But I felt like it looked very similar. I might have just been looking for that.
Yeah, I mean, this was covered in snow, so I didn't pick up on that. But I bet you anything it is. Yeah, that's a great one.
I did like the fact that they showed the entirety of Winterfell. I don't know if that's been a thing, because like I like keyed in on the Godswood, and man, that was really cool.
The red leaves over the wall.
Yeah.
I also think it being Palm Sunday a little bit, we have the procession of the Azor Ahai, the savior figure, coming into his holy city there in Winterfell, his seat. All the crowds were not yelling for him. There wasn't reading for them, but I felt like that was a little bit parallel here on today's date. But I did like the procession. I liked that, like you said, Brett, the North as a whole is unified in its suspicion of the Dragon Queen, and it's made clear that it's not just Sansa directing everybody, that this is an organic and natural feeling of the Northerners, and we're reminded that they don't trust outsiders, and it takes a bit to warm up to them. So I think it was consistent, and I think it was well done.
Yeah, and unlike season 7, I think depending on what they do, I think Sansa has some, she has some legitimate questions. If we jump back to season 7, Arya and Sansa left on bad terms in season 1. But so they were going to naturally have some conflict. I think what happened in season 7 personally just didn't work until the ending with the death of Littlefinger. Here, I get Sansa's concerns. We don't have enough provisions. We're having some of our key supporters, like the Glovers, not even come to Winterfell because you bent the knee to a Targaryen. And 3, John, are you doing this because she's our best chance? Or are you doing this because you love her? And I think that's Sansa kind of being like, just shoot straight with me.
Mm-hmm. Like, I get that too.
Both, if it's both, just say it. And so, I do hope that they don't set up this female versus female conflict between Dany and Sansa.
Yeah.
But I can understand both of them having reservations about fully trusting each other. I mean, I think that's fair.
I feel like, though, with the much loved and anticipated thing that was gonna happen, which is the Jon and Arya freaking hug, which was like the best part of the episode. Well, one of the best parts. But then it's one of those things. It gets poisoned too, because she says that she goes in and says that little thing like so you're whatever, you're sticking up for Arya now or whatever, and and they're talking about family or whatever. So you get from that point, like, Arya's on the same page as Sansa now. Like, look, they're all so I don't think it'll be that way. I hope it doesn't. I hope it's not a big thing. I just hope it, it's a suspicion thing. By season 3, it's all squashed. I mean, it's got to be. I think.
I guess as the army of the dead or
episode
war, right? There is no time for this, and I just hope it's done, not rush next episode. That it gets resolved naturally and doesn't feel forced. Because I think some of the Great Wall stuff, I guess it's just due to timing, seemed a bit forced. That none of this would get hashed out before we publicly displayed it before the Lords, right? kind of alliance was made, and what are the lords, and Sansa and Jon, like, oh, this is the first time we've spoken in this room, this public venue, and we'll just air all our grievances here.
They weren't doing it this time. I love it.
Right? Just not to go back, but I like that the public reaction to the dragons when they arrived, because I felt that wasn't done in King's Landing when they had the meeting at the Dragon Pit. I said, here's a metropolis, right, of whatever, there's 1 million people, as John asked Davos. The whole of the North is contained in these walls. If I was down in Flea Bottom, I would think the end of the world has arrived, right? The apocalypse is here. At any moment, they will burn the city. There might have been riots or something, and we had none of that. No indication whatsoever what the average person on the street thought in King's Landing, and to watch the Northerners have that kind of reaction, that fear, palatable. It was good, and that was something I looked for last season that didn't happen. So I was happy to check that off. Like, okay, great. This is something I was looking for.
It's like the showrunners listened to all the complaints from last year, and they were like, "Hey, let's wait. Let's write this one a little better this time."
Yeah, and Anthony, I had the same problem with King's Landing last year, not from necessarily the standpoint of the people in Flea Bottom, the people in the city looking, but Daenerys. I mean, this is the city, and this is the capital that her ancestors built. And I just kind of thought, the show gave us Dragonstone, which was an amazing, that was an amazing sequence of her arriving and, touching the soil and walking into the castle. I still think she should have had some moment of looking on King's Landing, because she's never seen it. And I know, obviously, they wanted to kind of surprise, but everyone knew she was coming, so I'm not sure there was really that necessity. So let's get through these last things in the North, and then we'll move to King's Landing. Jon and Arya, I thought that was a good reunion. You guys have already touched on their conversation. I did think it was pretty powerful that Arya is siding with Sansa, I think you could say. But she's making Jon understand that, yes, you're our family, but you need to remember that you're our family. And Jon is really, and I feel really sorry for Jon after this episode, because he's getting it from all sides. He's getting Dany saying, your family need to support me. He's getting his sisters giving him shit for what he's done. He's getting Sam giving him this information. Bran is not what he recognizes anymore. He's in a really tough situation.
There was a scene I forgot about, and I wrote a note, and I just saw it. Tyrion looks at Bran, and they kind of stare at each other, and Tyrion gets really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And also, I think the whole betraying Dany thing kind of got thrown out the window, but then I don't know, like that kind of bothered me. He felt very uncomfortable with that, and I did like the reunion with Sansa too. Just something that I don't know. That's just one of those. It doesn't really fit narratively.
Yeah, it's interesting. I saw someone say about the Sansa Tyrion reunion that I saw someone saying shortly after the episode that I felt that was a letdown, and someone had actually pretty good response and said Tyrion would probably have received a much warmer welcome, but he's coming as Hand of the Queen of Daenerys Targaryen, so Sansa's judging it from that standpoint. Although I really did like her line to him, I used to think that you were the cleverest man in the world.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
it's kind of reminiscent of Cersei talking to just like,
yeah,
I don't know, just to Jaime. Well, not really. I guess not exactly a 1-to-1, but she's like, you're the stupidest Lannister.
Right.
Just kind of one of those things.
The Arya and Jon reunion for me, I guess, was the most emotional since we had Sansa arrive at the Wall.
Yes.
And I think this one is probably a little bit closer to the mark on what will happen in the books. Obviously, we're not going to get Sansa, escaping Winterfell, because it doesn't happen that way, and meeting Jon post-resurrection.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
So I think this is probably a little closer to the mark on what we'll get in the books come Winds or Dream, and I think it was great. The hug, very much like the hug they got when they were departing with the initial gift of Needle, and now asking about it, do you still have it? And it was very sweet. And Arya telling him, don't forget we're family and whatever. Basically, she could almost like whisper it in his ear, like, "Cause I'll kill you."
Yeah.
Because I'll kill you.
I loved when he pulled out his Valyrian still. So he pulled out Longclaw, and he's like, "You jealous?"
Basically, yeah. I love that. That was a good sequence of them basically comparing swords.
They had a chicken measuring contest.
Yeah.
How many kills do you have? Well,
a few, once or twice.
A whole house. It's I didn't kill it. I didn't kill him with this, but I didn't need it.
I really liked her reunion with Gendry. I thought that was pretty strong. It almost kind of seemed like they hadn't been apart for a long time. I like that he was trying to call her my lady again and all that.
Well, you're saying it sarcastically, which
right.
And these are obscure callbacks too.
Right. Yes.
And I love it.
And I liked that she, handed him a weapon, a schematic of a weapon, and said, I want you to make this for me. Which again, we're not talking about leaks here, but if you watch the trailer, Arya is spinning some kind of staff in probably season 3 or episode 3. So perhaps Gendry will make that. What did you all think about the Arya and Gendry reunion?
I loved it. I think it starts with the Arya and Hound.
Yes. Yeah. Which I thought was good as well. I mean, they respect each other for who they are and their journey together, but they both know that, because even Arya kind of had, you could tell she had a little bit of, I took it as she kind of looked up at the Hound like, man, he's a big motherfucker. He's, he still scares me a little bit.
No. Like it was good. Like, cause you could see like they were both trying to not to smile, but they kind of did. Cause they that's just the way they both are, And then, what I am really looking forward though too is a Hound and Sansa reunion. I want to see what that looks like because we didn't get that one in this season, this episode. Not hopefully we'll get that next episode, like just something. But we got all the reunions. But no, I did really love the Gendry and Arya stuff. Like, I mean, there's nothing. Well, okay, so there is the shipping thing. Like he was like, "Oh, you're a lot." Better looking,
Yeah.
like he did. So they're definitely teasing that.
Well, I have a leak, right? Ed Sheeran is going to sing "Perfect" in episode 4. When the Lannister army does arrive to save the day, Ed Sheeran will be the entertainment for the two of them. I think it did great beats because we had many reunions this episode, and as much as I initially thought on the procession entrance into Winterfell, well, how can Arya contain herself? 1, 2, 3 people from her past, and she just sits there, smiling, but not making herself known. I guess how many times can you duplicate the hug, right? Right. There wasn't. She has a different relationship with Jon, familial, than she does to the Hound, and the Gendry, who was a friend more than the Hound, obviously. So I think it hit the right tone based on their past, and then it wasn't repetitive to, okay, another reunion, another emotional, another hug, and I think that could diminish it quickly.
Yes, yeah, no, I completely, yeah, you're right. Like I didn't even think about that. Like, yeah, you don't want. I mean, obviously the Hound's not gonna run up for a hug to Arya. That'd be weird, I mean, like, what show are you watching at this?
Yeah, but I thought Gendry, almost like a hot pie reunion, like they had some history there, together. That's positive. Like that might have been a little more.
I'm kind of mad about the hot pie reunion though. Like, I mean, like she was so emotionless in that. She had a little bit more here, But you know who we didn't get in this episode? I didn't even think about it. Brienne and Pod.
Yeah, they were simply just standing back there.
They were there? I didn't even see it.
I caught Pod, yeah.
Brienne was, so Pod was like over Sansa's left shoulder. Brienne was over her right. You only saw Brienne when Dany steps up with Jon.
Okay.
Like, so there was only like one shot of both of them.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe like Brienne was like in, like when I first saw the Hound and Gendry scene, I thought maybe Brienne was going to step out too and see them both together. And then like, oh shit, they're both together, you know, like, okay, we're all on the same side now, you know.
Let's transition to a huge moment. This is going to be a moment that a lot of people I think are going to discuss. Has a lot of implications for the next few episodes, and that is the fact that Dany talks Jon into hopping on a dragon, riding a dragon.
I did not expect.
What did you all think about that?
I mean, it was fucking crazy. I mean, like, I did not know they were going to do that. The very first episode, like, it's just one of those things. Like, hey, why don't you just hop on a dragon? Let's go. And he's like, all right. I did like the. I don't know. I feel like last season kind of the last couple seasons kind of like drug some stuff out. So it was just weird just seeing them in a good way. It was. I don't know. These are initial reactions, so my disbelief is it's got a pretty high tolerance right now. So I was happy about it. And then someone called it to the scenes that we saw of the dragons flying. They CGI'd the Dany and Jon out. I don't know who originally called it, but that was a big thing.
Vanessa, I think.
Well,
I think Vanessa sang that.
Okay, well, I know Anthony, she did say that, yeah.
Yeah. Anthony, what did you think about Jon riding a dragon?
So, I didn't catch it the previous 2 seasons because that was really all the time I had in a run up to this to watch, to rewatch. But the colors look great on the dragons. You know, it looks like the greens in Rhaegal, you know, are really there now that I didn't see, and in Drogon, you know, kind of red that I didn't notice previously. I like the scene very much. They're in the canyon, almost Star Wars, almost helicopter mapping the earth. I liked Jon asking about a harness, and it made me think of Gandalf and Shadowfax. And the quote Gandalf had was, and they asked, you know, you don't have a harness? What do you do? And he goes, well, I do not ride elf action except on Shadowfax. And Shadowfax will have no harness. He's willing to carry you or he's not. Like, it's the dragon's duty to see the double.
That's great. I love that. That's great.
And just preceding that, I liked Dany having the concern that she was going to hear that some northern child was eaten by a dragon, right? Well, what did they eat this week? She asked the Dothraki, her
right.
Oh,
yes.
I
didn't catch that.
Whatever. And she's waiting for them to say, and, you know, 6 children from the Wintertown, right? And it doesn't happen. There's that bit of relief from her that, you know, there was not this repeat of Marine where, oh, these people don't like me. Let my dragons eat their children. Like, we'll only have to, you know, have a public relations campaign to combat that next to that. I'm here to, you know, physically harm them on top of just, you know, being, you know, another Targaryen. But I thought the scene was good. I think Jon's a little undignified. You know, he's getting beat up by his sister. He's getting beat up by Dany. You know, so I still think he's going to have obviously some heroic moments this season. But feel like you said, Brett, I feel bad for Jon at the end of this episode. You know, it's getting it from all sides. But I thought the scene was great. It was well acted, and the CGI continues to make great improvements.
Yeah,
Viserion died. Last season, people couldn't tell if it was Rhaegal or Viserion. So like no one knew who died. So I think this season and someone I'm not sure who pointed this out, but they they scaled Rhaegal up to where he's just a little less big than Drogon now, so they're about the same size. Like they were, there was a pretty big difference, and so now you get to see they look very different, very green and black and red. So they definitely played around with that and tried to make that change.
This is one of the moments, as I said at the beginning of the episode, that I wanted. And again, this isn't my show. I didn't write it, so I'm not saying I could do it any better. But just from a fan reaction standpoint, I wanted this to be one of the things that maybe brings Dany and Jon back together. That, she doesn't see Jon. This is just me kind of spitballing here, but she doesn't see Jon as a threat when she finds out the knowledge, and
now he's a definite threat.
Yeah, embrace your Targaryen heritage. Rhaegal is yours. I need we need someone to ride him and kind of wield him. I guess, and the show she's always been able to wield all three dragons in a way. So that, that doesn't necessarily have to happen. Well, but I did think it was just a little, it came out of left field. Like you said, all of a sudden, like, hey, hop on this dragon. And I was like, this to me needed a little more weight behind it, I think. That's just my reaction.
It was, I don't know. I felt it was just kind of funny. Like he just jumped on. He's just like, hey, let's go, and like, I thought there was like the comedy moments got me too. Like, like this is actually what it'd be like, first time riding a dragon. You never got that with Dany. I do get your complaints though, but at the same time, if you get past those, it's kind of setting up like, okay, Jon could be a real threat to Daenerys, and they could be fighting. So it's setting up that stupid thing again where they might be fighting each other. But what if Jon just says, okay, you guys, look, I'm the fucking king in the north. I got a dragon now. And I'm teamed up with another dragon. And I think that's going to happen. I don't think he's going to, like, go against her. So it's like, what the fuck are you guys going to do? Like, I just don't, I don't know. And I don't see a civil war, them going against him. I think it'll resolve. And I think...
yeah, they don't have time for that.
No, there's no time for that. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons, I guess, we've kept Cersei around so long. We weren't going to do the Fagon Golden Company landing in Westeros, so Cersei's kind of hung on, and now we're going to utilize them because there's just no time to kind of play that out.
And God dang it, I think Theon's dying in episode 3.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I could see that.
Well, he's expressed that, right? I should have been there for Robb. I should have been there for whoever. So this is his chance to...
Yeah, and they set Yara up. She's not even going. She's going to just be there as a contingency plan. So she's going to be the queen in the Iron Island. So I think his fate's sealed. I think he's going, he's going to fight. He's going to die. Sucks. He's one of those people. It's like I think I could see him living, but I guess same time I could see him dying too. So it does suck. But I think he's biting it in episode 3.
Okay, let's stay on that. Let's jump to King's Landing. We'll come back to Last Hearth at the end, and what some of that might mean. I feel like I'm being a little bit of a downer here, but I kind of felt that here come the Greyjoys out of nowhere, freeing Yara. It was pretty easy, and I get that Euron is distracted. He's inside the castle.
He's fucking Cersei, man.
That made it easier.
Castle. Right, is inside.
Metaphorically and literally.
Mm-hmm.
So that was just my reaction. Again, that this is, these are our live thoughts right after the episode. Maybe I'll, go back and watch it and see it I couldn't really tell.
I think you were a little more critical than I am, though. I get more critical the more I watch it, but like I think, I mean, everyone does, but I think
I do the opposite. I have an initial same thing. Like every Star Wars movie, every recent Star Wars movie, I have a negative first impression, and then I grow to like it, and that seems to be happening with Game of Thrones. I have just an initial criticism, and then it grows on me.
I don't know if it's like fan fiction or crit fic where I'm imposing what I think the intent is on showrunners' decisions, but like I almost thought we got the Forsaken there, the Winds of Winter sample chapter. There's Euron with this glass. I'm like, that's
that's great.
You know, what is it called that they drink the warlocks?
Shade of the Evening.
The shade of the, like this is gonna be the shade of the evening. He's gonna force Yara to drink it. He's gonna and then he's gonna have her like the Flowers bastard daughter from the Shield Island. She's gonna be on the prow of the ship, and then nothing.
But when that scene picked up where she was tied to the little post and he was like drinking something. I was looking for his blue lips. I was like,
she's damp hair. She's gonna be damp hair. I would have bet the house on that. I like the rescue scene in the sense that it was, you know, Theon the bowman. That's
yes.
At least I don't.
Yes,
he did it in the show because he rescued Bran with the bow. But you know, we always had Theon as a competent bowman, so that was nice to see. I thought.
And I love the fact that like she punched Theon right in the fucking face, and then she was like, "Okay, but you did," and like I don't understand like why people like are mad that he jumped off ship. Like there's nothing he could do. If he even went after, even if he would have killed Euron, everyone else maybe would have probably killed him.
I thought the PTSD was handled well. You know, that his emotion, you know, damage from the years of torture and torment. You know, both from his uncle and then Ramsay. Mm-hmm. I thought it was handled well. I thought it was consistent with his character, and I thought the acting for Alfie's always top notch.
Yes. No, go ahead, Travis. But yeah, I agree.
I was going to say consistently, he's one of the best actors in the show.
Yes.
I think that's going to be very interesting where that sets up. That Theon's coming north. You know, I did kind of get an indication that, and I really like Yara. Yara's in the books. I especially like Asha, but I do like Yara in the show. You know, do you think she's going to come in and not rescue Theon, but say, "This is my battle too"? You know, this is my country as well. Or do you think she's just gone?
It seems like,
I mean, I can see it going either way.
It seems like it might be she's gone, but the fact that they even mention like, look, I'm gonna wait around here just in case Daenerys needs, you know, she's gonna need people just in case it goes south, you know, like, so I feel like she's gonna come in maybe like the Eagles from Lord of the Rings. She's gonna bring the ships there and like so after episode 4 or episode 3, I think she's gonna help out with that. And bring people south.
I guess if the battle goes poorly in episode 3, she could ferry them out of White Harbor or something. South.
And I think from what everyone thinks, and we're pretty sure they're not going to win. They're going to have to retreat south and have to deal with Cersei and converge. And I don't know why you would throw in a line. With, you know, why Yara would throw in that line, or the writers would have her say that if it's not going to be a thing. So I think that's going to come into play. And I think it's going to come into play at the end of episode 3 or beginning of episode 4.
Yeah. So, what did you all think about the Golden Company? I thought that was a nice transition from Cersei and Qyburn to Euron's ship. I really like the actor playing Harry Strickland. I thought he was, you know, just his pensive nature standing there, you know, looking and his comments to Cersei, who's very mad that there are no elephants. Well, we are too.
No, and that
were elephants.
Is that not a lampshade if I've ever seen something?
Yeah,
yeah. Seen that before. Like, I did love it. Like, okay, like Cersei's pissed that we don't have elephants. We're all pissed, and now we have to side with her again. And we already did that in season 5, and I don't want to do it again.
Isn't that Strickland's line from the books? Right, where are my elephants?
Yes,
right. You know, when they
because they all land in different areas.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Where are my elephants? So I guess the fan theories of some Legolas surfing the trunk is just not going to happen. Elephant. So I liked it. I don't know if we're going to get any of his backstory, if he is an exile, as in the books. I don't know if we have the time for that.
Yeah. I
don't know if the accent of the actor, I don't know is where he's from, if that's any indication that he's not Westerosi. But I thought it was a good appearance. The Golden Company looks good. They look smart. They look capable, for what that's worth at first blush. I forget the chronology, but I do like, since we're in King's Landing, Cersei kind of taking a page from Tywin's book, where when Tywin heard that the wildling army was at the wall, and he was kind of hoping that, okay, well, the wildlings burst through, we'll soften up the north, and we can come clean up whoever wins. You know, Cersei's kind of going the same route where, well, we'll let the dead's through the wall, fine. We'll come mop up whatever enemy is there, and handicapped, you know, with some losses following a bloody battle. So I like the hat tip to
that's a good callback. Yeah,
her father, because you know she's always said that to Tywin, that she was the son, right, that he should have had, that she should have been born a man. Right, she was in male. What was her line? I should be in male and you should be in the skirts.
Yes.
Yeah. She wants to be dad, and here she is, you know, getting to fulfill dad's dream, and it's just not going to go well. There is no turning this undead army back like a wildling force, some undisciplined.
So I gotta talk about this one. Okay, she was drinking wine. She has not. She's still pregnant. There's no baby, and then you get the Euron. He's going to put a prince in there, even though she's already pregnant. So I guess it's still early. She's not showing yet.
Right, but she purposely turns down the wine in season 7, and that's the tip to Tyrion that she is pregnant. So she's drinking wine here. So
yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, I thought that was strange that she would be drinking, because a lot of people looked at the trailer that came out with her drinking that, you know, oh, she's lost the baby. This is later in the season. She's lost the baby, or the season opens with her losing the baby. And so I'm not sure what they're doing there. A correction on behalf of the showrunners that, you know, well, maybe we shouldn't say that someone in this time period knows not to drink alcohol while you're pregnant.
Right. I guess a lot of the alcohol has been watered down. It's still common, at least in Italian culture. Even a pregnant woman will have a glass of wine for New Year's Eve. You know, I don't think it's that.
Yeah, my wife had in very moderation.
Yes,
we would have wine with dinner and stuff. So
it's not like bad unless you're like getting trashed on,
drinking loads of it, right?
Yeah. Unless you're Cersei.
Right. Yeah, but to be fair, she can't function without alcohol. So,
and I don't know if she brought Euron in to her bed to cover up the parentage. You know, this might be just a wild, off the wall theory.
Oh, I like that.
Wait, what?
Is Euron coming to her bed to cover up the parentage? Is she done with Jaime? Is she mad at Jaime? Or she finally comes to the realization, like, okay, this isn't going to work out. We can't celebrate our marriage. And if she's going to bring Euron in, let Euron think he's the father. I don't know how close we are in terms of time to her conception in the previous season. I don't know where we are.
So I think you could be onto something, because this could plug a hole. Because this is a thing that I had trouble with, is the hit that Cersei wants, or Qyburn comes to Bronn. He wants, and that's a HBO scene, if I'd ever seen one myself. All the naked ladies is a callback the first few seasons. It was
very
weird.
It was the very first few seasons.
It was weird seeing it seemed like HBO again, but the hit on both of them, not just Jamie, but not just Tyrion,
right?
But Jamie. So that, I mean, you could be onto something. Anthony,
I don't know if I put any stock to it. It's just something that came past my head. I like the Bronn scene for the humor aspect of him and Kyber, and like, which one has pox and he'll die within a year? and I almost want Bronn to succeed, if only I can hear him deliver the line, like, or someone say to him, leave the crossbow, take the lemon cake.
Yes. Someone, I got to share this. Someone on Twitter posted a question saying, how does Kyber know that one sex worker, has pox? And someone replied and said he's going to give it to her. Which I wasn't thinking that, but when she walks out and says, when she says, if you ever want a good time, basically, I looked at my wife and I said, "Oh, you don't want to have a good time with Kyber."
Yeah. No.
The baby thing is definitely, I mean, you can just see it in Cersei's eyes. I think that's really going to blow up soon. The Golden Company and Euron and all that is not going to end well for Cersei and King's Landing. I really like the Golden Company storyline in the books. Again, I like that actor. I like the look of them. I like the fact that they're present. They could do a lot of things. They've got the Targaryen history or Blackfire history, but I think the show, they may go with the Targaryen history. Yeah. But I think there's a lot of potential there for some really interesting. And now that the Greyjoy, again, I kind of thought the Greyjoy thing would happen over the first couple episodes to get to free Yara. And now that that's out of the way, they could really do some things in King's Landing with the Golden Company. All right, so I think that wraps us up on King's Landing. Let's jump back to the north. Let's jump to Last Hearth and just kind of wrap up our discussion here. With that, we'll get to some of our questions, and then we'll talk to Anthony a little bit about his coming to the fandom. So at Last Hearth, poor little Ned Umber. I thought that was kind of creepy. Just the gradual eyes opening and the blue over, I guess it was Tormund's shoulder or Beric's shoulder. I don't remember which one.
Tormund's, I think. Right.
But I thought the castle looked nice. The no bodies anywhere. But the White Walkers left a message. They had the spiral again, and I think there's going to be a lot of people questioning what that means, why the Night King is doing that.
Start that scene off. I mean, that was funny. Like they walk around a corner. Dolor's there. He's got blue eyes.
I've always had blue eyes.
That was funny, but then they're talking. You can just see his eyes opening. Like I caught that immediately too. I don't know why, but I was like, "There's a dead child on the wall," and that thing's open. But like I don't know. Like I was like normally I'm not very perceptive to the world around the person talking, but for some reason it's Game of Thrones, and I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
So, but that scream was chilling, and I was kind of expecting a cold open at the start of the episode.
I thought,
and we didn't get that.
Yep.
So.
Yep. I agree. I thought Last Hearth was going to be the cold opening. I thought the army that it was going to overrun it.
Yeah.
So I was surprised the way they structured it.
Yeah, and so I'm glad we got the kind of the horror kind of ending, or at least some horror stuff. So
yeah, Anthony, what did you think?
It was good. The geography would put the Army of the Dead there first, both in terms of proximity to the wall and it's to the east, right by Eastwatch.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Children are creepy.
Yep.
Kids under 6, Children of the Corn. It's just in terms of horror, it's something we've seen, and it's it's
a pop culture.
It was shocking.
Yeah.
I liked it. I liked it a lot. I think it closed the episode on a good point. it seems like our heroes just keep escaping one thing for another, right? They're beyond the wall, they're at the wall, they're in Last Hearth, and I don't know what your death pool has, the odds for the three of them, Ed and Beric and Tormund, but one or all are going down. There's no way they're going to escape every.
I think I was talking about this on Twitter with someone. I kind of imagine almost. I can imagine almost Beric kind of taking almost the Stannis role in marching out. I've got the flaming sword. Let me lead the army to take on the Night King. I've been revived by R'hllor. All this. But yes, for sure. I think for sure Beric Dondarrion is a goner. I mean, he's already dead in the books.
Yeah.
I love the character. I really like the actor and the character in the show. So I'd be sad to see him go. But I think you're right. Probably all of them are doomed.
Well, let's talk about this too, because we're forgetting about this. George said, that came out today? Like that interview where he said the book or the show's not ending much differently than the books. Like, the journey's going to be way different, but the endings are the same. We know in the books, Catelyn, he passes his flame to Catelyn, and so we can expect that maybe Beric is. Since they didn't do Lady Stoneheart, Beric is going to be essentially Lady Stoneheart. So what's he doing there? He's going to be doing something. So I think I wrote him off initially. Like, he's dying. In episode 1, no one died in this except for poor Umber, little
Ned Umber.
Little Ned Umber. Poor little kid. But anyways, so I think I'm just I think he's not just there to be cool. I think he's gonna pass his flame of life off on. He's gonna give the kiss of life or whatever it's called to someone. A lot of people think Arya. Maybe. So maybe he's going with the Hound to save Arya at some. I don't know, because that's a tinfoil or not tinfoil, but a theory. A theory I have that the Clegane Bowl is going to be initiated by Arya. She's going to run off. The Hound's going to follow her to protect her. It's going to go wrong for Arya. The Hound's going to step in, and then maybe Beric steps in too. Maybe the Hound, or maybe the Mountain kills Arya, and Beric gives her the kiss of life or something. I don't know, but he's there for a reason.
I like that because I thought like the Game Bowl setup last season was forced.
It was. Yeah.
Or just confronts him, and you always knew, brother, I was coming for you, or this is how it would end, whatever the line was. My money was lost at the table last season when I thought Beric was going to give the kiss of life beyond the wall. I didn't have a character picked out, but I just thought, what is his role here still, right?
Yeah.
Have some sort of rear guard action where they escape the Night King one-on-one there at the lake. But I also agree with you, Travis, that the BWB's return in season 6, but 6. The BWB coming back was just great. The dialogue, all the scenes, the home where the Hound found the family that he left abandoned and then buried them. Everything that they've been on screen for has just been top notch. So it's good to have him around.
Yeah. All right. Well, that wraps up the events of the episode. Let's close out with some questions. You can answer these as complicated as you want or as simple as you want.
Did you catch the Strider Jamie thing that was going on when he snuck into Winterfell?
Did you say Strider?
Yeah, he was like.
Oh yeah.
He was like Strider. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Aragorn, but then it ends with him looking at Bran, but
Bran's still there.
Yeah. Oh no. But I don't know. I just thought, But
anyways, I thought that was nice. I was very surprised that Jamie made it, and that might be one of the questions. So let's just get into these questions. So, what was your favorite moment from the episode? Or, I mean, it can be character, plot, music. It doesn't matter. What was your favorite moment?
Mine. I think mine was the. It's as cliched as it is. It was the John and Arya hugging scene. That was just. It was much awaited, and it was as like I thought it was going to go really awful, and yeah, there was a little bit of that like underlying like oh no dread, but it was so like tainted with like Bran and like the reunion, like in Arya's reunion scenes in season 7. Like I was surprised it was like that emotional and heartwarming.
Yeah.
Because it could have been really dark, and it wasn't.
Yep.
I mean, a little bit, but not as much as it could have been, So
okay, Anthony, favorite moment.
I second the Arya and John reunion for all the reasons Brett said. It just eked out the reveal to John as to his parentage, because I'm still having a hard time accepting this annulment. I'm Thomas More when it comes to the annulment. I will not bend to the marriage for all seasons. I don't foresee that quite happening that way in the books. I don't think it's consistent even in the world we're in with the show. So I think that is the only thing, and that's my own personal handicap. I don't think most people approach it that way. So, but for that reasons and the reasons Brett mentioned, the John and Arya reunion is sitting atop my favorite this episode.
All right. I really like the reuse of the King's Arrival music from season 1. I thought that was great. Always liked that music. Always doing my duty. Yeah, the Baratheons. I gotta say, I do think I'm gonna have to go back and watch this again, only because I want to get that line correct.
Yeah.
But I really loved that conversation between Varys, Tyrion, and Davos. I thought that was really good. I mean, Davos is just a great character anyway. He's one of my favorites. But I just really liked that those three talking and trying to work things out and the influencers behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So I thought that was very powerful. You guys haven't been critical. So I'll ask you, what moment did you not like about the episode?
Well, I mean, like I started off like, okay, I was taking notes and like first thing I caught was like, the cattiness between Arya and Sansa and whatever, or the
Dany,
quote unquote cattiness, yeah, but between but then I kind of thought about it as I kept talking. I'm like, this is pretty well set up. Like, yeah, I mean, I wish there wasn't conflict, but I can see it. I just hope it's not any more than just like I just met you kind of stuff, and I hope it kind of brushes over. I don't hope it snowballs into another like whole season arc, which I know it won't. So, I mean, that was the only thing I really had a big complaint on. I think I had another one, but I completely forgot it at this point. All
right. So the potential cattiness between Sansa and Dany, if it gets a lot worse.
Yeah, if it does, but okay. They set it up well to where it's Northerners. It's not the women. It's just
Okay. Anthony, what moment did you not like?
I guess it's some of that, and I guess mostly the stuff at the Great Hall. I think a lot of these major political issues would be hacked out in private between some of the major players, or at least the representatives. And I guess due to the nature of television and then the condensed time in the season has had to be done publicly, it just doesn't feel real to me. I just don't necessarily think we would have all this hashed out. I mean, this could have gone many ways, right? So if the Glovers didn't show what's to stop Lyanna Mormont and her, 18 men from season 6 from at that point, marching home, right? Because if we, talk openly in this way, there's nothing to say that some of these are the veil, doesn't think about going home after this now. I think the political things weren't really resolved, and they were discussed in a fashion that would have had more difficult, or what's the word? We would have seen other consequences, I think, if they were done in that form.
Yeah. I mean, I've already said most of mine. I still wanted a little more Greyjoy plot in the first couple episodes. I hope. Yeah, I do like Theon coming back to Winterfell.
I do understand like what you're saying with the Greyjoy thing, because now that I've kind of talked through it, it's like they got it out, and then now I can see the whole plot. Like Theon's going to Winterfell, and then that's it. Yeah, and then maybe not.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's a massive fleet at King's Landing, and somehow ships just and I don't have a problem with that. I wish they'd done it a little bit. I still think the dragon riding. I mean, I think that it would have been more consequential to Jon's arc had it come maybe after the reveal or later. At a more pivotal moment. Something like that. So I think that those two are probably my issues. Callbacks. Did you have a favorite callback to an earlier season?
I can't think of one.
We've talked about a lot of them.
Yeah. We did the King's Road and the Bran character climbing, as well as what I think is the area where they found the direwolves. I guess I wanted to just point out something we didn't get to in the main portion of the episode was the cave, right? Dany and Jon in their journey are at the cave. Red thing, right?
Yes,
where they had sex.
I didn't even
children,
catch that.
Jon say, if we can only stay here, what do you say, 1,000 years or something?
Yeah.
And I don't know if in the show, but certainly in the book said Gorn's children got stuck beneath the ground and they got there for hundreds of years or something. So I thought that was a callback to the cave scene, and I can't know who to credit. I was only on Twitter very briefly following the episode, and someone had joked that only Ygritte gets to go in the cave. He's not allowed in. That there's already laid claim to what goes on in the cave and who can do it. But I think that's a callback we didn't get to hit in the main portion.
No, you're right. That's a great one. I thought about that with the cave.
I thought it was funny that Jon looks up and Drogon's staring at him.
Yes, I did like that.
He's all jealous.
Yeah. Anything that surprised you the most about this? I mean, again, we've kind of talked about this throughout the cast, but was there any moment that surprised you the most?
None of this I expected, and then now it just throws what season or episode 2 gonna be? What are they gonna do? Because this moved really fast, and now it almost could seem like season 2 might be all filler.
I've heard that episode 2 is really going to call back to earlier seasons, that it's almost all entirely in Winterfell, and it's that someone described it as a play. So 2 or 3 characters just talking. So I think it could be very good.
I mean, that's what this episode felt like.
I was surprised by the reveal from Dany to Sam. I think that was the biggest shocker for me. That she'd be the one.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that. I thought that was really not going to be discussed, or if it was going to be glossed over. I didn't expect him in the same room
or someone else would tell Sam.
Exactly. Yes. Sam would have got it from maybe Jamie coming north with the news that he was at the battle and your father's dead. Right.
I'm changing my answer to back years, because that actually was really surprising, especially Sam being so cynical.
Yeah,
it's a really big twist. That was a good twist.
All right, so final question. Like we talked early in this episode, this episode of the show, which is called Winterfell. Just saw that it was confirmed that its title was Winterfell. Really sets up things for the season, sets up things for the end game. was there a moment, was there something done by a character in this episode that's potentially really going to pick up steam for the rest of the season? Something that might set something in motion. I mean, there's a lot of stuff dropped in this episode, but you have one thing that you're either really looking forward to see how it plays out, or that you're really concerned could really screw things up for the characters. I'll tell you mine first, if that's okay. Bran. Yeah. You talked about this a little earlier, Brett, that he has this stare at Tyrion, and I don't know what that is. Like, why is he staring at Tyrion? Is something going to happen to Tyrion, or is Tyrion going to do something? Yeah. You can assume, okay, he's staring at Jon. He's staring at.
But he did that.
He's staring at Sam because he wants him to go tell the information to Jon, and he stares at Jaime, but they have a history. Even though he's the three-eyed raven.
What worries me is he stared like that at Littlefinger. That's what worries
he did. Yep. You have a moment that or something, some arc that you're interested to see how it plays out, what the consequences of it.
The 500-pound gorilla in the room is Jon's parentage.
Yeah,
that's going to hang over everything this season, both from if and when they get out of this battle for the Dawn and the succession and who survives. I think everything hinges on kind of Jon coming to terms that Ned's, helped raise him and is his, what is the term? His father, but not his sire, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to hang over everything, I guess, this season.
Yeah, I thought that was a really nice line when Jon gets very defensive about Ned. That, Ned, my father was the most honorable man I've ever known. Basically, how dare you say that he lied about this? And of course, Sam says he did it to protect you. I thought that was a nice that was a nice conversation that they had in regards to Ned.
That's really cool that he even explained it too. He's just he did it. That there's a reason,
Yeah.
But yeah. So.
All right. Any last comments about season 8, episode 1?
I think we've turned a discussion about a 1-hour episode into
almost a 2-hour podcast.
Almost a 2-hour podcast. I think we're good.
All right. So, Anthony, we're going to turn the spotlight to you for a few minutes. We're going to ask you some questions about yourself, your how you got into the fandom. So we call this Your Song of Ice and Fire. We've been interviewing guests. We've done this ourselves. So let us know how you got into A Song of Ice and Fire and Game of Thrones.
So I guess 2013 was season 3. So in the immediate aftermath of things like the Red Wedding, that kind of crossed into pop culture and it permeated everywhere. So I first heard the term and then caught on to the show a little bit. And despite sharing a hometown with George of Bayonne, New Jersey, I had no idea that this had existed, this universe. I was adamant about reading the books first because my first foray into fantasy was The Lord of the Rings, and kind of in a similar fashion, the pop culture buzz surrounding The Fellowship when that came out. I saw the trilogy first before I dived into Tolkien, which remains my first love.
Okay. All right. And you just said that you share a hometown with George. You went on a little expedition recently, right?
Yeah. So I've been, I guess, following George's connection to Bayonne and its influences on the story. And the best place to read about George's childhood there was a speech, I think, to a Toronto Worldcon, maybe. I have it somewhere. It was called The Heart of a Small Boy. And he talks about his family and this house they owned on a place called Lord Avenue in Bayonne. And what it was is his mother's home, her childhood home, and her grandfather had owned a very then lucrative construction company, And during the Depression, as many things happened, the company went belly up. George ended up in a federal housing project about 2 blocks south of it, across the street from a dock that his family had owned previously. And he had to walk past this house on his daily commute by foot to the public school system at Mary J. Donahue. So that's the original kind of house with the red door. So there's a barber in Bayonne that a friend of mine goes to. I've located this address through the public census records, because now I'm a bit obsessive. And it was 110 Lord Avenue, and I actually got to go into this house, which inspired some of George's thought process, I think, with Danny and the house with the red door, and her as a monarch in exile, or as a pretender, and George's feeling as a lord dispossessed, as he would say, like former Bayonne royalty. So the house is gorgeous. There was actually a speakeasy in the basement. It's called the Peacock Lounge. So when I start my own podcast, I think I'm going to go with that title, the Peacock.
Nice.
So definitely. Yeah, I got to go in there, and there's a couple of sites in Bayonne, and the invitation's open to you and to anyone else in the fandom. That I'll show you the sites, and we'll catch a beer somewhere.
Nice.
That's
all
awesome.
Right, so
I didn't know that. I don't know. That's really cool.
Yeah,
and kind of sad at the same time.
You went to George's event for Fire and Blood, right?
Yeah, that Jersey City's the town north of Bayonne, so it's a quick commute up to Journal Square. So I was there, got to meet several of the luminaries in the fandom.
Yeah, Jeff and Emmett and all them.
Jeff, Emmett, Chloe,
Matt, Joe Magician.
Matt, yeah. I mean, I had a beer, had dinner with the whole gang, and it was good. It was good to put faces, and voices to people that it's usually a one-way conversation on my commute.
Yeah.
Like you guys teach tonight. It's a one-way conversation on the commute.
Right. So how did you get into the fandom? You said you heard about the show after season 3. You started watching it and reading the books, all that. How did you get into the fandom? How did you get on Twitter? Start interacting with people.
So I had actually had a Kindle sample of the book, and immediately opening up the first page of the Game of Thrones, which, as I mentioned, I read the books first, so I deliberately made the choice to read book 1 and then season 1 and then Clash of Kings and season 2 and so on. And it was immediately apparent that I was going to need some help digesting this. So I didn't get through the Silmarillion my first 2 or 3 times without the later Corey Olsen, if I can plug him, the Tolkien professor, for anybody interested in that world. And, quick podcast search turned up things like History of Westeros and Radio Westeros. And the first deep dive was Jeff's appearance on History of Westeros. They did the 3-parter on the Battle of Ice.
Yeah. And,
that just opened up a whole new world to me, that something could be this deep in the detail and then the theories surrounding, because, at first glance, I was ready to buy the red, the pink letter rather, hook, line, and sinker. Stannis is dead. All is lost. Ramsay's on top. It's not until someone who's been at this much longer and with greater interest, kind of opened my eyes to this, and that's just down the rabbit hole from there.
As it is always,
That's where I spend the most of my time now on Twitter. Favoriting and stalking content producers, betters like yourself.
Don't put us in that. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to be on favorite F or G list ASOAF.
All right. So, which book is your favorite in the series, and why?
I think A Storm of Swords remains, despite people continue to bring my attention to A Dance with Dragons. I think George's writing, he's firing on all cylinders there. It's paced very, very well, because that's one of my criticisms of A Dance with Dragons. I think some of it gets a little long-winded. Some of the Tyrion chapters, who am I? But, I think A Storm of Swords, he hits all the beats right.
I agree with you. I mean, like I think that's my favorite. It's my favorite season. You know, like the it's my favorite book. I mean, you get Oberyn, you get I mean, just a lot of stuff happens, and then A Dance with Dragons is very well written. Like I can go back and like listen to it or read it, and it's very enjoyable, like chapter by chapter. But story wise, I think like I mean, you got a really clear beginning and end with the Storm of Swords. So I mean, I agree with you. It's one of my favorite books too. I mean, so
yeah, you're in good company here.
Oh, good.
Storm of Swords. Not that the rest of them are
no
bad. They're all great. I mean, they're all great. But yes, I like what you said about he's firing on all cylinders with A Storm of Swords. I think that's a perfect description of why that book works so well.
It's kind of like, I mean, A Storm of Swords is a good ending. Like it's ended. It's kind of like the end of the first act, and then you have the second act where you've got A Feast for Crows coming out, and and A Dance with Dragons, and like that's the pickup of like the second half of the story,
right?
And it has it's a great ending. So and then that's a good transition to the next part, the phase of the story. So
all right, couple more questions. You have a favorite chapter, character, or storyline from the books or the show?
Yeah, so hashtag Team Dragonstone. Plug for you guys. You're I guess it's 2 episodes ago now with Frank Bull and his essay that is still forthcoming. Write the essay, Frank.
I'm glad we didn't wait on Frank, because Jesus Christ, buddy.
No, and you shouldn't have, because it was great stuff from all of you. Yeah, Stannis Antiportis was great.
Yeah,
and so I guess my favorite character and then storyline kind of overlaps both Storm and Dance, and really begins when Davos pulls Stannis back from the brink regarding the sack of Claw Island, and orients him towards his duty as king. You have to go to the Watch, you have to save the wall, by extension the realm, put the horse back in front of the cart. And then as you mentioned, Brett, into Act 2 now with Storm and Dance, we have the hangover from the Red Wedding, I think the Emmets refer to it as. And
that's a cool,
And then Davos 3 and 4, his speech in the Merman's Hall, and then Wyman Manderley, the North Remembers. For me, it's just that 1-2 combo punch that just shook me from post-Red Wedding depression, right? The whole country is desolate. Your favorite characters from Act 1 is dead. There's this new explosion of characters and POVs, and you come to love them, but at first it's like, I'm really only interested in my favorites. Where did everybody go? Mm-hmm. So Davos's time in White Harbor, just brought you back and gave you that feel-good fist pump moment that, it could be okay. I don't know if it will be, but there's hope. Someone's got a plan.
And then you just get more of Davos being Davos too. Like, I name you a liar, to one of the phrase, whatever. What is it, Gerald Frey or something?
It's his letter to his wife. I guess Davos wanted Davos too. He was a better hand than a husband, and so on and so forth. And he's just pouring out his soul to his wife and regrets. And here he is, thousands of miles away from home, fighting a war that seems lost, but just he has to continue on.
Yeah.
God. Davos is an amazing character.
He should have won March of whatever it is. March Madness.
Yeah.
I keep madness. Still mad about it.
Yeah. All right, final question. You have a favorite episode or season of the show?
The episode is season 2, 9, the Blackwater.
Yeah.
I think the special effects budget starts to show itself there, that it was increased, the tension in the battle, as in the books, where, at least for me, you want Stannis to prevail, and yet you kind of have torn feelings towards Tyrion and his survival, right? He's a Lannister, but he's quote-unquote a good Lannister. We want Tyrion to survive. George's hand in the episode is seen and well done. That's probably my favorite moment in the show, too, where Davos calls for the drums, with the bells. They want to play music with us, drums, so that's probably my favorite episode and little clip from it too.
I mean, I like when Davos too, like he's like, we might as well be chicken shits down here, boys, and they just in the Battle of the Bastards. So
yeah, he's just so good.
Yeah,
well, he's like the blue collar, man. He's the common hero.
Yeah.
I'm waiting on a Springsteen concept album about Davos and his time, But like I say, he's I think he kind of encapsulates like how he was torn with his time between his wife and his career. Like I think that's speaking to a lot of us in modernity, right? Where you're in a career oriented and you have to think about maintaining your responsibilities to your family, and you're just torn in many different directions. And he's a good man. We hope he comes out on top and he survives the series. And he has a lot to teach us.
Yeah, I mean, if he dies, I'll probably just
he's
cry.
I'll
just bawl uncontrollably.
He's one of those characters, man. Like I think he'd do good surviving.
Yeah. All right, Anthony. Thanks so much. It's been a real pleasure to have you on with us as we dive headfirst into Game of Thrones season 8.
It has been like it's been a lot of fun. Like I'm sorry if we didn't let you talk enough. I don't know. I haven't been this excited or talked this much on a podcast so far. But I mean, just season 8. I mean, I don't know. Like, just exciting. So.
No, I'm excited too. I'm happy to have joined you guys. My first podcast experience, so I'm honored again.
Great.
I still shaking out the anxiety and the nerves a bit. I hope it doesn't come across much.
No, you, dude. I mean, like, believe it or not, I think I don't know. It's my first like time being on someone else's podcast on the Nights cast that we were on last week, and I was pretty nervous. So I mean, I don't know. Like, I was on the receiving end because like me and Travis just kind of jumped into it.
Yeah, we were both.
Same thing when you mentioned that Jersey City event. It was like you're kind of like fandom celebrities, but I know you're real people. I'm still kind of nervous.
Yeah, it's weird, especially to meet people in person, because you're kind of like, this isn't George R. R. Martin. This is just a random person with a microphone and a computer, but you familiarize yourself with their voice and their face through a screen, and you're right. It's a little nerve-wracking when you're like, I don't know how I'm going to talk to this person.
I always yell back, but no one ever responds. Which
yeah.
I'm getting committed one of these days.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again, man. We really appreciate you taking time. It's a late night. Here we are, right after the season premiere, the last season premiere of Game of Thrones ever. It's really crazy.
It's hard to take in.
It really is. It is. So that wraps us up. Thank you all for joining us. We are going to keep the ball rolling here. We've got some special guests lined up in the coming weeks. We'll wrap up with a season 8 review, and then we might do a retrospective of Game of Thrones, the TV show, as well in the future. So look next week for episode 2 of Game of Thrones season 8. So we'll see you around Planetos.